how important is room correction in your mastering studio? Now, here's the thing with this, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine. He phoned me up the other day, and we had this conversation about room correction, and which led me to this question and answer. Basically, I recommended he get a Trinnov because he was saying to me, I've got a few little errors in my room I want to correct. How would you recommend correcting them with acoustics? I said, look, I'll be honest with you, like, your room is good. I've been in his room, it sounds good. The errors that he was talking about, I said, would instantly get fixed if you put a Trinnov in. And a Trinnov being room correction. It's basically a box that will correct your room pretty much almost perfectly. So he's put one of them in, and we got onto the conversation of, was it worth it? Was it worth putting one in? And like, they're expensive. They're £5,000 to £6,000 for the stereo version for the ST2. And he said, yeah, you know what? It's corrected a lot of errors that I knew I had, and it's corrected a lot of errors that I didn't know I had. I said, well, that's great, because at the end of the day, now what you're hearing is as perfect as your room can be. And then I led to the question to him, which was, do you feel you're getting far less revisions for mastering than you used to get when you didn't have the Trinnov? And he's paused for a second and he said, you know what, yeah, like, thinking about it, I get literally no revisions now. I said, yeah, that's what a Trinnov will do for you as well. So by putting this one tool in, which is basically room correction, he's now getting far less revisions. So, despite what it costs, £5,000-6,000, it's saving far more time, which you can't put a price on that. So I kind of, established with him that a Trinnov is gonna massively help you in that regards. And then we got onto the subject of why, and we kind of come down to the fact that what's basically happening without the Trinnov, the room is EQ'd and the speakers are EQ'd differently. So what he's actually doing when mastering, so what you're basically doing without the Trinnov is you're correcting your room and mastering the track. So that EQ curve, let's say for argument's sake, just simple one, is that the Trinnov is applying a curve like that. So you're now, when you master, trying to put that curve back to normal and then master on top of it. So you're applying 2 stages of mastering, technically speaking, because you're correcting for the room and you're doing the master, which isn't correct, because now that he's got this let's call it a perfect room, he's not correcting for the room because that's already corrected for. So what he's actually applying in the analog end, and when he's mastering, is he's now applying the processing that actually needs to be applied. So now the translation from his studio to another studio is great. And that means that he's not getting those revisions. So he's making the right EQ changes because what he's hearing is so much better. And I mean, this is the thing with that, is you cannot put a price on that. It's so important. Like, you can only make the changes on these EQs based on what you can hear. So if you're hearing a scoop out in the middle, you're making EQ changes for that scoop, that section in the middle. You're bringing that back up and then making EQ changes for the mastering. So that's how important something like a Trinnov is to get really good room correction. But yeah, I mean, I always recommend to people, put a Trinnov in. At least try it in your room and understand what it will do for you.